Hey, what's going on, Black people? What's happening? I hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. Today on drboycetv.com, we're going to talk about this interesting development in the ownership of BET. It looks like Shaquille O'Neal, Kenya Barris, and Shaq, they want to own BET. They want to buy it up. They want to be the bosses of probably one of the most influential Black networks, and I use that word Black very sparingly. I kind of create because it's debatable as to whether or not BET was truly a Black business ever. But they want to be the owners of it. They want to be the bosses of it. And I'm going to give you some of the pros and cons of all this, and we're going to break some of this down. So until that time, what I would like for you to do is get comfortable, buckle up your seatbelt, hit that thumbs up button. We're going to get started on drboycetv.com in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones too late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to co-sign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I want to say hi to everybody. Shout out your city. Let me know what city you're from. I see Zeus from Phoenix, Justin Pender from NYC, Terry Cobb out of Atlanta. How you doing, brother? Sean Carter, Sean Caster, not Sean Carter. Sean Carter is Jay-Z. Sean Caster out of New York. My name is Corey. What's going on? Give me a yes in the chat if you can hear me okay. Everybody, give me a quick yes. Let me know my audio is good. What's up on Instagram? My Instagram is the real Boyce Watkins. Just give me a quick yes to let me know that it comes through. Manodi out of Brooklyn. Good to see you. All right. So, all right. Thank you for the yeses, sister. And I see Danielle out of Dallas. I'm going to be in Dallas May 19th. We're doing a 2-day Black Wealth training camp in Dallas. It's from my new book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. I don't just want to go and sign books. I need to show you how to implement the rules of wealth in this book. This is from my PhD in finance. I basically took everything I learned about how whites go to Wall Street and make all this money, how Jews go to Wall Street and make all this money, how Asians go to Wall Street and make all this money, and I applied it to Black people, and because I think the rules are different for us. So I put together the 10 Commandments, just like you got the 48 Laws of Power. This is the 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power coming from Dr. Boyce Watkins. So that's what we're going to be training on. And if you want to hang out with other Black wealth builders, come down to Dallas. You can go to boycewatkins.com to get more information as well as free resources, because I want your family to be powerful. I want your family to be rich. I want your family on top of their game. And I want your family to be as rich as some of the Black celebrities, right? And I want to talk about this, right? Because this is really the discussion for today that I want to drill into. 3 Black men that I have no issue with, that I like these guys. I follow these guys for many years. Shaquille O'Neal, Kenya Barris, and 50 Cent. They all want to go and buy BET. Now, how many of you have heard of Kenya Barris? Kenya Barris is probably the one that you've heard of the least, even though he has a lot of shows that you probably heard of. Blackish, Black AF. I think he helped write that or create that Eddie Murphy movie that came out, where a lot of you were a little bit upset because you felt that they were offensive toward Minister Farrakhan. And I think that's a subtle, tiny point, but I want to bring this point up. This point is going to pop in and become relevant as we have this discussion, because so these guys want to buy BET. Give me a yes or no if you know who Kenya Barris is. Give me a yes or no also if you knew that they were going to buy BET. Now, Tyler Perry is another guy that's talked about trying to buy BET. Diddy has talked about trying to buy BET. Byron Allen has talked about trying to buy BET. So a lot of individuals, particularly Black men in their 50s, it looks like that's kind of what it is. Black men in their 50s, about my age, I'm 51, that are all looking to go make this power move to buy BET. I think that's cool. First of all, let's start right there. Give me a yes if you think that having BET under some form of Black ownership is progress. I think it's great. I don't have any issue with it. In fact, I think that if you consider the pasty old white folks who owned BET before, you almost felt like it was insulting that these individuals were controlling one of the largest black-owned media outlets in the country. You have the Sumner Redstone family, and so the idea that a group of people who are not black are controlling black culture, that's what y'all need to watch out for. That's what you have to be careful about. That's what people don't talk about. You don't talk about the danger, the absolute danger of having people who are not black controlling black media. The danger of people who are not black handing you a bunch of refried bullshit. I'm gonna say bullshit. I'm gonna try to invent some cuss words so I can keep from cussing, because I really want to say bullshit. But so refried bullshit and say, oh, this is your culture. This is black culture. This is the culture. This is fun. Let me ask y'all a question. The Redstone family, I think some of them are Jewish, because Jewish people are smart about owning media and all that. I don't have nothing against that. Nothing against it at all. I spent all those hours on the phone with Kanye West, and he has an issue with Jewish people. And I told him straight up, I said, look, I'm not mad at Jewish people like you are. I don't know where you get that from, but I actually study them. I study what they do. I don't hate the player. I don't even hate the game. I learn the game and I study the other players. I don't see them as my adversaries, but I do see them as my competition. Right? I do not see them as my enemy, but I do see them as fellow competitors in this game of economic warfare. And one of the things that I want to ask you is, give me a yes or no. What if there was a network called JET, Jewish Entertainment Television, and it was owned by me? What if my black ass owned Jewish Entertainment Television, and I was sitting there and I said, this is Jewish culture. This is your culture. Do you think that they would allow me to do that? Do you think that they would sit quietly and say, oh, well, thank you so much, boss, for giving us some good television to watch? Do you think that they would be happy about me influencing their culture? Do you think that they would have allowed that to happen? Do you think I'd even be breathing in a couple of years? Like they wouldn't just take me off the air. I might get assassinated over that. Okay, so I need y'all to understand the racial double standards that exist in America, the racial double standards that you accept as black people, because you're used to second-class citizenship. You're used to coming in last place. You're used to being occupied. You're used to other people controlling you. You're used to people doing things to you that they would never allow you to do to them. That's what you're comfortable with. You're okay with that. So you watch the BET Awards, and you're like, hey, y'all, that's black culture, y'all. What? That's lit, y'all, that's lit. That ain't lit to me. I don't watch that crap. I don't watch it. I just don't. So no disrespect to the guys that are talking about trying to buy BET. I like these guys. I don't have no issue with Shaq. I'm just about the same age. I watched Shaq his whole career. I watched Shaq when he was tearing down rims, and he played for LSU. I still remember when they played against Louisville back when I was in college, and I watched that game because I had so much admiration for him as a player. I remember when 50 Cent came out. I knew his whole thing. I got shot 9 times. He repeated that 18,000 times, and that's what got him his first million. And after that, he's been working on top of that ever since. 50 Cent is going to be a very powerful person in television. Congratulations to 50 Cent. Kenya Barris is a great writer. No disrespect at all. But one of the things I have to really do is I have to do my job. And my job is I have to come in and I have to tell the truth. I have to be honest, and I hope it's okay. Give me a yes if it's okay if I tell my truth, even if you disagree. I need to confirm that it's okay, that I can say some things that may not be comfortable for you, but we can still love each other. Give me a yes in the chat if it's okay if I give you a Dr. Boyce perspective and really tell you exactly what I'm seeing, exactly what I'm thinking, exactly what concerns me. Now, seriously, some of y'all might call this dry hating. Some of y'all may think I'm being being mean. Some of y'all may think I'm not going with the flow, but I've never been a kid that went along with the program. I've never fit in. I've never fit in with white people because I was too black, and I never fit in with black people because some of the shit we do is stupid. Seriously, I'm sorry. I never fit in with all black people. I like intelligent black people I can work with. People that want a better community, I can connect to that. People that want what's best for their kids, I love that. People that want to break generational curses, oh, I'm with you. People that want to build strong families, I'm with it. But people who go along with anything, just because white folks put some Negro on TV and taught you how to twerk when you were 6, and then had you thinking that killing other black people was good to rap about in a song, or taught you that a young black boy should be hooked on drugs by the age of 17, I can't rock with you. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do it. So I think it's really clear, and I think it's okay, and I think it's very important that we really have these hard conversations and draw lines in the sand and call things what they are. And I know that this is not popular. This is probably what got me banned from the Breakfast Club. I done been banned from I don't even talk about it much, but I've been banned from media. That's why I had to create my own platform. I think the Breakfast Club banned me years ago. I think the Ebony Magazine, I think they banned me. It's okay though, because that's why I built a platform, because I can go in here and do what I want, and we reach 1 million Black people a week, and we do okay with that. So anyway, let me keep going. Let me dig into this. Let me talk to you about the questions that I would ask Kenya and Shaq and 50 Cent as they take on the very important, very sacred, and some might say noble task, and Herculean task of buying into BET, right? Owning BET. I support it. I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's definitely better than those pasty white folks owning it. No disrespect to them. Not that all white people are pasty, but the Redstone family. Come on now. I know why they're selling. I speculate that I know why. I think that they're selling because Paramount, the parent company of BET, lost about $1 billion last quarter. They lost $1.1 billion last quarter. So because they're losing money, it looks like they're shedding assets, and they're trying to find some way to raise capital that way. First question I would ask you is this. Who are your partners in this process? Are you the owners, or are you the mascots? Are you the owners, or are you the mascots? Why do I ask this question? Well, let me tell you a story. In 2013, I was in the car with Cornel West for about 5 hours. We were in the car, hanging out in New York City, walking around the city. And it was part of this thing that we did back then called the New Paradigm Tour. New Paradigm is the 4 pillars of building a community: wealth, education, family, and community. And I was trying to go out throughout the country promoting these ideas, because I believe that for Black people, we must focus on wealth. We must commit ourselves to education. We must rebuild our families, which will build strong communities. So Cornel joined me, and I love Cornel for that. Even though he's a Marxist, I'm not a Marxist, but it doesn't matter. He's my brother, and I love him. And in that time, Cornel and I were having a lot of really great conversations. And one conversation that we had that I'll never forget, we were driving across the Brooklyn Bridge, or is it not the Brooklyn Bridge? Maybe it's not called the bridge that gets you to Brooklyn. I don't know if that's called y'all got to help me. I love my folks in Brooklyn. I know y'all always come out and support me. I should know what the bridge is called. Anyway, we were going across this bridge, and we were looking at that stadium for the Brooklyn Nets. We were looking at that stadium where Jay-Z and anybody remember that? Give me a yes if you remember when the Nets were being purchased, and Jay-Z was involved in the deal. And what was going on with that deal was really interesting. So these Russians wanted to come and buy this team, and they knew that they needed the buy-in. Is it called the Brooklyn Bridge? I don't know why I thought that there was no. Don't see that I'm just showing my ignorance. So let me just shut up before I reveal more of how stupid I am about certain things. All right. So we were driving across, and we were looking at the stadium, and Cornel was pissed. He was angry, and he said that when they were trying to buy that team, the Russians knew that they would have a hard time getting past the Black community. They knew that the Black people, especially working class people, those people that Ebony K. Williams would never date, like the bus drivers and stuff, that they would be mad, because they'd say, wait a minute, you're pushing us, you're gentrifying our neighborhoods, you're pushing us out of our communities. We're not going to have economic benefits to all this development that's happening. So they were protesting for jobs and protesting for the things that people should protest for. So what they did was they said, oh, we can get our secret weapon. It was their Russian voice. We still get our secret weapon. What's your secret weapon? Our secret weapon will be Jay-Z, because if we get Jay-Z and we market Jay-Z and pretend like he is really the secret owner of the team, then we will get the Negroes to stand down. So you know what they did? Anybody remember? They took Jay-Z's face and they put it on in Times Square. That's where you see Negroes that look like they made it. You put them on a big billboard in Times Square, and they pretended like Jay-Z was the owner of the team. Does anybody remember that? They really gave the impression that Jay-Z was the owner. So then what happened was Cornel said that at that moment, the protest didn't work anymore, because everybody said, well, why are you hating? Why are you hating? You dry hating, dog. You hating because the Black man trying to own the team, and you trying to stop a Black man from owning the team. And Cornel couldn't explain to them, again, because we are so committed to one syllable thinking. We are so committed to checkers instead of chess. Like, people get mad at you. I don't care if you can only play checkers. I'm not mad at you for that. right? Just like the bus driver conversation. I'm not mad at somebody that becomes a bus driver. That's an important job. That's an essential worker. But for you to get mad at people that want to play chess instead of checkers, or people that want to own the bus, that's where I get off the bus. That's where I have a problem. You can't tell me it's okay to drive the bus, but then you get mad because somebody says, you know what, damn it, I want to go own the bus. That should be okay too. And so basically, when you have people that get in the way of those who see something that maybe others don't see, or who aren't caught up in the glitz and glamour of the fact that white people put some black guy on TV and paid him money, then that's a problem. You're getting in the way of progress, because y'all know how the story ended. In case you don't know, let me remind you. Jay-Z did not own any of that team hardly. From what I understand from my research, Jay-Z owned less than 1%, not even 1%, like 1/16 of 1% of that team. If I'm not mistaken, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I got the numbers off. If I do, I apologize. And it's not a diss on Jay-Z, but y'all fell for the rope-a-dope. Y'all, that was a straight up economic rope-a-dope. As soon as they got black folks to co-sign on the deal, they said, okay, thank you, Mr. Jay-Z. You can go back to the hood now and continue to make your money somewhere else. And the Russians then came in and they just ran that team. And they were like, okay, thank you. We didn't know people were that stupid. We didn't know that we could fool people that easily, but it's great. Right. So effectively, my point is to say this. Look, I have nothing against anybody black buying BET. I think it's progress. I told you, I don't like the Redstone family owning that at all. But I want to ask you, when you say it's 50 Cent, Shaq, and Kenya Barris, plus you got these silent partners, who are the silent partners? Is the dog wagging the tail, or is the tail wagging the dog? Are you owners or are you mascots? Black celebrities are used on a regular basis as economic mascots for white people that want to get things done. They understand that if I get a Negro wearing Gucci, black folks will go out and buy more Gucci, because some people will literally think that I'm supporting something black by buying Gucci. Then next thing you know, Bernard Arnault has $200 billion and nobody knows how he got it. Well, he got it because your rappers are constantly marketing their products. Right. And the other thing, too, you got to understand that the challenge that the black community has, intelligent black people has with whiteness, is that it becomes a conflict of interest. So you have a black person who comes along who has a great relationship with white people. They have a great relationship. They're scared to shit of Jewish people. They don't want Nick Cannon. Y'all saw Nick Cannon get taken out back and beaten like a field slave because he upset the Jewish community. Right. So they come in with all these partners. Right. And they come in and then they use their connection to the black community. Oh, you like my music. Oh, you liked it when I was dunking a basketball. So you trust me because of this. So me and my partners want to go and buy this thing and this media outlet, and it's going to influence your community. And then next thing you know, you co-sign on it because you love somebody's movies, or you love their music, or you love watching them dribble a basketball. And then it ends up becoming something that might as well be owned by a white guy. So I just always want to know, when you talk about your partners, I'd like to understand who your partners are. I like to understand, remember, my doctorate's in finance. So the question I always ask is, who's paying the bills? Because one thing I can tell you about America is that the bright, shiny celebrity out front is not the person that's in control. Fame is a corporate created product. Fame is manufactured the same way you make iPhones, the same way you make sneakers, the same way you pull Teslas off the production line. Fame is manufactured. And unfortunately, as my brother's speech from Arrested Development, who's actually in our documentary called B1 the Movie, he said that there's literally in America, there's what they call a nigga factory. And I'm not going to say no, I'm going to call it the Jigga Factory, because I'm not trying not to get messed with by YouTube for using a curse word. But the Jigga Factory manufactures Jigga culture. And they manufacture this culture where people become famous by talking about how many times they shot other black people. They become famous by rapping about how many drugs they use, how many baby mamas they got. Everything that is built on toxic culture creates these false leaders, these people you look up to, and you don't understand that they are poison in the Kool-Aid. They're literally dipping their penises in your Kool-Aid and making you sick and peeing in the Kool-Aid. You're trying to build something rich and extraordinary in your community, and you can't do it because the people that you consider to be your leaders are partnering with those who want to see you dead. They want to see you die. They have no problem with all the black people that are being killed on the south side of Chicago. They have no problem with the fact that 76% of all black children don't even have a father in the house. They have no problem with all the black men that are going to prison. They have no problem with the fact that you're a day late and a dollar short, that you have 55 schools in the city of Chicago without one single child, Not one single child in those 55 schools can read or do math at grade level, but I bet all of them can recite lyrics of their favorite rapper. I bet every single one of them knows everything they need to know about Cardi B and how to twerk and how to sell WAP, but don't know nothing about reading, writing, math, or nothing. So I'm just telling y'all the truth. I got to be honest here, and I'm not really, and what happens is that it ends up looking like I'm trying to shoot down your favorite rapper, and I'm not shooting them down. What I'm trying to say is that you live in a country that keeps the black man in a box. The black man is kept in a box in this country. What does that mean? Well, that means that if you are a black man who is good at math, America is not going to pay attention to you. They're going to go pay attention to some mathematician or engineer from India. If you're a black man who's good at engineering, if you're a black man who's good at the law, if you're a black man who knows, who's great at writing, if you're a black man who's good at some skill that involves true intelligence that isn't entertainment based, the world will ignore you. The black man is kind of the white man's clown. Seriously, we're the white man's entertainment, just like the plantation. You don't believe me? Let me give you examples. The easiest way for a black man to really get on TV and to become a so-called influential figure in the black community is for him to either rap or perform, sing, dance, rap, dribble a basketball, throw a football, tell jokes. Telling jokes is really good. They like that. They like when you tell jokes because that makes them feel comfortable in their whiteness. Ain't nobody in history ever been scared of a nigga telling a joke. Ever. The closest that they've ever seen is probably Dave Chappelle. Shout out to Dave Chappelle, because Dave Chappelle is probably the scariest black man on earth to ever tell a joke. Ain't nobody ever scared of the clown. They fear you when you want to become the king. They don't fear you when you become the clown. They don't fear you when you destroy your own. And I'm not accusing these guys of any of that. But I can tell you that if big old 7'1", 250-pound Shaquille O'Neal was a scientist instead of a basketball player, you would not know who he is. If 50 Cent was not a rapper who got shot 9 times and was instead a biologist or a college professor or an attorney, you probably wouldn't know who he is. Seriously, the best you might get a Ben Crump or something out of it, but even Ben Crump isn't really loved by white folks. Right. So the point of the matter is to say that the challenge that you have is this. BET is influential. BET shapes culture. And the people that might be trying to own BET have these silent partners that you know nothing about. And then on top of that, even the individuals who you see are people who became famous because some white person put them on TV because they could sing, dance, rap, or dribble a basketball. Right. So the problem that you have in the black community, part of the reason that problems don't get solved is because they tend to hide the smart people in the black community. They hide the people in the community that are really doing the work. They hide the people in the community that really love and care about the children. They hide the people in the community that are really being effective at getting things done. For example, I think that Marcus Small, who runs Freedom Home Academy International, one of the best schools in Chicago, should be the most famous black man in the country. He's a man that everybody needs to know, because everybody should be asking, how is it that you are running a school on a bargain basement budget and able to create 10-year-olds who sound like they just graduated from college in a city where there are 55 schools that get hundreds of millions in funding every year that can't even educate one single child? How in the hell did you do that? I think that that's a better lesson and a better message for us to learn, other than to figure out why 50 Cent got shot 9 times or how Shaquille O'Neal can dunk a basketball. No disrespect to 50. He's very talented. His movies are awesome. Shaquille O'Neal was a big, strong hulk of a basketball player. I love watching that guy play. But at the end of the day, the Shaquille O'Neals are not going to pull you out of the condition that you're in. They're not going to, unless they take the time to listen to the smart black people in the community. They're not going to have the answers. And then if they're really connected to their overseers, if they're really connected to the people, their benefactors, if they're really connected to their silent partners in an unhealthy way, they can become the worst Trojan horse than you've ever seen. Why would that be a Trojan horse? Well, because they can come in, they can do tons of damage, And you'll sit there and allow them to do the damage because you think that your enemy is actually your friend. You think, well, because he has a black face, I can't touch him. I can't say nothing about him. You think that because he's got a black face, you say, well, I don't want to say nothing negative because I don't want nobody to accuse me of being a hater. Well, I don't care. I don't care. I got to tell the truth. I am perfectly fine with being called hater of the year. My wife went on Tasha K's show the other day, and Tasha K said to her, she said, a lot of people don't like your husband, and my wife was like, yeah, but I love him because he's my husband. I said, there you go, baby, you do that. I'm okay with being hater of the year because sometimes the truth takes you to places that you don't want to go. And so at the end of the day, when I'm looking at BET and I'm looking at the sacred task of owning a network that is shaping Black culture, I got to ask you questions before I let you through the door. You having a black card is not enough for me. The fact that white people paid you to make rhymes, I congratulate you for that, but that's not enough for me. The fact that white folks paid you to dribble a basketball, that's cool, but that ain't enough for me. I need to understand. I need to ask you another question. What do you plan to do with this entity? What are you going to actually do? What is your goal? Is your goal to continue with as business as usual? Well, if that's the case, then I don't know if I can be cool with that. Because we know, give me a yes or no. Let me ask y'all a question. I'm going to ask intelligent Black people. Let me pause for a minute as you hit the thumbs up button. Please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, share, subscribe. I should mention this real quick. I hope you'll let me do this. We are actually making movies. We have a division called Boyce Watkins Films. We have a great new film coming out called B1 the Movie, directed by Rick Mathis. We got some great people in the film, the Rizza Islams and brother Nuri Muhammad and just so many smart people, therapists and experts, financial experts, etc., real estate experts, all kinds of people in this film. So I hope you'll check it out. We don't have the kind of money these guys have, but we do have enough that we put aside that we can make sure this film is seen by 1 million people. That is our goal. That's what we're going to accomplish, and we're going to do it as a pure Black-owned entity. We're getting that done. All right, so I'll let you guys know when the trailer comes out. Also, I'll be in Dallas May 19th. If you want to join us for the Black Wealth Training Camp, just go to boycewatkins.com. You can take a look at that. All right, so the other question I'm going to ask you is what are you going to do with BET? What are you going to consider? Are you going to continue with business as usual? BET has been a shit show for about 20 years. Not that everything on BET is terrible, but I'm going to ask you all a question. How many of you watch BET and get inspired by what you see? Give me a yes or no. How many of you watch or better yet, how many of you do you get inspired by what you see, or do you just kind of cringe? How many of you feel that BET's programming has been just absolutely cringeworthy in the last 20, 25 years? Like literally to the point where you're like, damn, I can't even watch this. This is embarrassing. I hate the fact that they think that everything is in the Black community needs to be ratchet. Don't get me wrong. It doesn't mean that everything they do is terrible, but a lot of you don't watch BET anymore. And so the question I'm really kind of figuring out here is this. If you create a media outlet, and let me just tell you this about capitalism. You guys know my background's in financing. For those who don't know, I taught finance at Syracuse University for 13 years. And because my doctorate's in this stuff, I think about economics all the time, especially how it controls Black people. And let me tell you something about capitalism. It is going to be extremely difficult for any Black man or Black woman who is a pure capitalist to truly run a BET in a way that is going to be beneficial for the Black community. It is very difficult for you to come in with your little silent partners, white and Jewish people who don't care about crapping on the Black culture, for you to run a maximally profitable operation that does not become a destructive factor on the Black community, that does not produce a lot of social toxic waste on the community. I'm talking about kids getting hooked on drugs when they're teenagers because they're looking up to the wrong people. I'm talking about urban violence. I'm talking about miseducation, uneducated Negroes everywhere. It's going to be really hard for you to max out your dollar bills. If you have a one-dimensional objective when running BET, then you will fail the Black community. Do you understand what I'm saying? You will become just as harmful as any dope dealer who thought that he was helping the hood because he gave away turkeys at Christmas. You ain't helping the hood if you're giving away turkeys once a year, but selling crack the other 364 days of the year. Fuck you and your goddamn turkeys. You ain't helping nobody. And the idea that we look up to this, the idea that we admire this, and we say, well, he sold some heroin and got our whole family hooked on drugs, but he gave away some turkeys and he built a basketball court. That right there is the most flawed thinking that you can ever imagine, because every dollar that somebody toxic puts in the community has to be balanced against all of the lost potential that occurred because of all the broken families that came to be because of what you were selling. They have to be compared to all the children who died because of what you're doing. It has to be compared to all the fathers who abandoned their families because they went and got hooked on your product. So this idea, whoever taught you to even look up to the dope dealing culture is harming you. And it's something that you have to stop and think about. You can't just think about what you're getting. You got to think about what you gave up in order to get it. Every investor on earth understands that when you look at the value of an investment, you don't look at how much money you made. You look at the return on investment. How much money did you put in order to earn the dollar that you made? If you put in $3, if you lost $3 to make $1, then that's a losing strategy. The problem with the Black community, though, is that people don't care about the negative side effects of what they're promoting to Black people. People don't care because they say, yeah, I made $1 and it cost $3, but I didn't pay the $3. My community didn't pay the $3. I'm Jewish. I live in the suburbs. I ain't paid the $3 that it cost to make this dollar. The hood paid that $3. How did they pay that $3? Give me a yes if you follow what I'm saying. You paid the $3 because your children are more likely to die because of the cultural influences that are out there promoting the deaths of Black people. You have people out here, kids getting hooked on Molly and shit because they're listening to rappers who are glorifying drug addiction at an early age. So that Black man who could have been somebody's husband is going to be a drug addict. That Black man who could have been something great in the community turns out to be a loser. That Black man who could have went on and led and protected and provided and elevated, instead he is a liability to his family. Has anybody, I'm serious, I need to ask y'all a real question. How many of y'all have ever had a drug addict in your family? Have you ever gone through the pain of somebody you love getting caught up in the culture and either turning into a thug or a drug addict or whatever? Has anybody ever gone through that? And then you don't know what the hell to do with this person. You can't depend on them. You can't trust them. You are afraid of them now. I knew a woman who raised a good child, and he started messing with heroin. And he can't put this on Black people though. He started hanging out with this white girl that got him hooked on heroin. Now his mama has to hide. She can't even tell her own son where her address is because she's scared he's going to come to the house and steal from her. That's what she has to hide from her own son. Do you understand what kind of pain that creates? Do you understand what kind of loss that is? That literally the person who was supposed to come through for you, the guy who's supposed to help you get ahead, the man that's supposed to help you do better, is literally the thing you fear the most, right? So you cannot play when it comes to culture. You cannot allow people to promote things in your community, whether it's music, ideas, or anything that is going to create the likelihood that your child is going to get hooked on dope or that somebody's going to end up trying to kill your child on their way to school. That is not funny. So with BET, shame on you, man. Shame on you for putting profits over people. Shame on you for acting like making money was the most important thing in the world. You could have made your bread and still done good by the hood, but you know why you couldn't make your bread? You know why? I mean, you know why you couldn't do good for Black folks? Well, if you want to understand the essence of why BET was such an epic failure for all these years, you have to look at this. You have to look at, well, who is dealing with the consequences of these messages? Who are the owners? Who controls? Who makes the money versus who pays the cost? See, they make the money. The Redstone family makes the money. But y'all paying the damn cost. So think about this. Imagine if somebody said, you're going to get $1 million tomorrow, but in exchange for your $1 million, someone that you don't know is going to die. How would you feel? Would you take that money? Seriously, it's a hard question, but I'm going to ask you a question. It's a question like a deal with the devil. What if every time you got $1 million, somebody died, but you don't know the person? It's not in your community. It's like a guy in China or a woman in China or a woman in Ecuador is going to die if you get $1 million. Would you take that money? I bet I don't know. I'd be tempted. A lot of people would be tempted because you're receiving the benefits, but you're not paying the cost. So when you have people that are not Black, that own Black media, that are shaping Black culture, that's the deal that they're making. That's the deal with the devil they're making. Look, you're going to make an extra $1 billion, but some Black kids in the hood are going to get shot. You're going to make an extra $2 billion, but some Black kids in the hood are going to get addicted to drugs. You're going to make, your quarterly profits are going to be through the roof, But, some black people are going to suffer. But do you really care about black people? No, they're kind of like roaches anyway. Like nobody really cares about black people. So basically, and you're right. See, Jones says black people are dying every day, every second of the day. Right. It's very tempting. But what if that was your grandma that was dying? Would you still take the same deal? Would you still look at it the same way? What if that's your son that's dying? See, this is why the people that control the media and the culture of a certain community need to be members of the community. They must have skin in the game so that they don't just receive the benefits, they're also going to pay the cost. This is why, even with policing, that's why you should have what they call that community policing, where the police that patrol a neighborhood should live and have ties to that neighborhood. Because you come in there acting a fool, you come in there punching grandma in the face, well, there's going to be consequences for that because grandma knows your mama and it's going to get back to you. It's going to circle back to you. But if you're a cop that lives, 40 miles away and you care nothing about the community, then nothing is sacred. Nothing matters. There are no consequences because that's not your grandma. Nobody knows those people in that neighborhood. And that's pretty much your problem with policing. That's also your problem with economics. The people that are benefiting from destroying the black community are not the ones that are paying the price. You have the unfortunate position of paying the price and receiving none of the benefits. That's why when you measure every aspect of black wealth, every aspect of black success, every aspect of black education, you tend to find black people at the bottom because everybody profits from the destruction of black people. You are a perishable commodity in a capitalist society. And part of your problem isn't just that it's being done to you. A big part of your problem is that you cheer it on and you accept it. Everybody who steps in and says, Dr. Boyce, you just be hating. You just be hating. That's what I'm talking about. And I have no problem ignoring those voices because unfortunately, I forgive you because you know not what you do. I'm not mad at you for not understanding how this game is played. I just want you to consider what I'm saying and take a moment to listen. Let me move on. Hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. On my website, boycewatkins.com, I have a training called How to Make Money Without Working. If you'd like to take a look at that, it's very good. Feel free to go to boycewatkins.com. Also, this podcast is on Spotify. So if you go to Spotify and look up the Dr. Boyce Breakdown, you'll find me on Spotify. If this is of interest to you, I think you're going to like it. You can listen to it in your car. And then also, one more thing, I'll put the phone number. If you ever want to get text alerts when we go live or whenever we do anything in the Black Business School, just text the word Boyce to 31996. Text Boyce to 31996. And this next week, I'm going to do something with my wife. My wife is a therapist. She joined us in the Black Financial Therapy Department. She's also a full professor of social work. And she actually is the head of our Black Financial Therapy Department, where we explore the psychological barriers to building Black wealth. And so I want to give a shout out to my wife, as well as all intelligent Black women who hold us down. That's my wife right there. And she's a licensed professor and a full professor of social work. And I'm very proud of her. So I think we should brag about intelligent Black women every chance we get. All right. So anyway, let's move on. So back to the lecture at hand. As somebody said in the song, I can't remember who said it. Back to the lecture. I think Dr. Dre said that. All right, so back to the topic at hand. All right, so these are the old owners of BET, the Redstone family, who had no interest in doing anything good for the Black community, and they're kind of a crazy family. I think that shows succession. I think it's based on the Redstone family mixed with the Trump family. I think that's what they're aiming for. Another person that's trying to bid for BET is Diddy. Diddy, I have no issue with Diddy. I don't know Diddy. I know Diddy has called Dr. Claude Anderson, who is like a father figure to me. He's the author of Powernomics. By the way, every kid should read Powernomics, every Black child, just to give you an idea of how they hide intelligent Black people in exchange for ignorant people. Isn't it fascinating that Dr. Claude Anderson wrote one of the most powerful economic books in history for Black people, but you don't see him in schools. You don't see him even at HBCUs. You don't see him on television. So shout out to people like Diddy and Charlemagne the God. In particular, Charlemagne the God, I know for a fact, was a supporter of Powernomics. I hope that Charlemagne follows through on some of the other commitments he made to Dr. Anderson. I think Dr. Anderson would like to talk to him, but you've seen some guys that reached out to Dr. Anderson. Who else should I give credit to? Kanye West, as weird as he can be. Kanye, is a supporter of Powernomics. I respect that. The best advocate I've seen to date was probably Ice Cube. who actually, I asked him, I said, let's each buy 1,000 copies of that book and give it away to Black people. Ice Cube was a man that followed through on his commitment. I can't say that about everybody else. And one of the reasons I bring this up to you is because, again, I told you I owe you the truth on that. And I can say when I talked to Dr. Anderson, he talks about Diddy reaching out. He talks about Ice Cube and Kanye and everybody else reaching out. And the person we have the most favorable conversations about is Ice Cube, because I like his genuine nature in terms of truly trying to do what he can with the community. So the thing is that this is not anti-celebrity. There's nothing against the celebrities. But the thing is, you got to understand that you cannot simply idolize and look up to a Black person just because white people decided to put them on TV. The book is called Powernomics, powernomics.com. That's where you can get a copy. Everybody should get one. I think that in general, when you look at this and you understand how the business of media works, you understand that the people that are pulling the strings on the media that influences Black people are not Black people. And so that's why your smart people get hidden and they replace them with toxic idiots, right? Not that Diddy's a toxic idiot. I'm not saying that at all. Also, another person trying to bid for BET is Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry, I spoke to Tyler one time in 2014 or so. He called me and we had a very nice 15-minute conversation. He's a very nice man. And then he arranged when I asked him, I reached out to him when I was in Atlanta. I said, I'd like to do a tour of your studio. He wasn't there, but he arranged for his second in command to give me a 2.5-hour tour of the studio. I was extremely impressed by what I saw. I think Tyler is a good guy. And with me admitting that not even admitting, but actually stating that I think Tyler's a great guy, I will admit that I don't agree with what I've been seeing kind of with the whole Madea thing. I think that while Tyler Perry deserves a lot of credit for being extraordinarily successful, we all know that Tyler Perry probably wouldn't have $1 billion if he wasn't a Black man that was putting on a dress in every other movie. So when I look at his studio, I see this extraordinary thing that he's done, this amazing thing he's created, but also we know that it's the house Madea built. Now, is that Tyler's fault entirely? No, it's not. It's not his fault. I think the question becomes, where does this come from? How do we live in a society that would much rather see a Black man wearing a dress than to see a Black man wearing a suit? Why would they rather see a Black man in a position where he is the beta rather than when the Black man is the alpha? Why would we rather see the Black man when he is funny as opposed to the Black man when he's serious? And this all comes from what imperialism or colonization or slave culture really does. You see, here's the thing. If I'm the white man and I really want to maintain control of this thing, and I'm looking at this big behemoth of a beast called a Black man, I'm looking at him. He's stronger than me. He's smarter than me in many cases. He's a survivor. He's overcome all this stuff. I fear him. I fear him. I have nightmares about him. That's why they clutch their purse when they see you walking across the street. That's why they get scared of you on the basketball court and the football court, because you are extraordinarily just the most frightening son of a bitch that they've ever seen. So if I fear this thing and I'm looking at you and I damn near see you like a gorilla, like I think if I'm a white guy and I see Black people, I really think I would be thinking of Black people almost like strong as gorillas, but they're as smart as scientists, right? They can be brilliant, right? That's very scary for me. So what makes me feel better? What makes me feel less stressed out if I'm trying to control this thing? Well, what makes me feel less threatened is if you show up wearing a dress. Then it's like, oh, he's cute. Like, anybody ever seen like a bear? Like a bear, like grizzly bears are scary as shit, right? Or polar bears and grizzlies are scary as hell. But what happens when you go to the circus and you see the bear wearing a skirt and like a tutu, and he's riding a tricycle? Anybody, think about how differently you feel when you see a bear wearing a tutu. If you see a bear wearing a tutu, well, that's not the big scary grizzly that's gonna eat you up. It's like, oh, he's so cute. He's Boo Boo the bear, right? So for the Black man, when you show up wearing a tutu, then you go from being the big scary Black man to being like Boo Boo the fool, like or the little bear in the tutu. Right? That's adorable. It's like, oh, it's so funny. It's so great. But then what happens? What happens when the bear realizes he's a bear? What happens when the bear says, man, but to hell with this. I'm taking this dress off and I'm eating everybody. Well, then you shoot the bear. You have to shoot the bear because you can't fight the bear. The bear's too strong for you. Right? So when the Black man shows up wearing a tutu, or he shows up telling jokes, right? He's the court jester. He's the comedian. The king is never threatened by the court jester. The king is not threatened by the comedian. right? So so if you look at what a court jester looks like, the court jester is kind of funny like a clown, right? And so again, you go back to why is it that in Hollywood or wherever that the black man is most readily accepted when he shows up, almost like in a joke like capacity. If you're stupid, you remember go back to the minstrel shows. If you go back to the minstrel shows, that's what you get, right? The king is never threatened by the clown. The king does not see the clown as somebody who's fighting for the throne. So effectively, many of the black males that you see the most on TV, the ones that are the most prominent, the ones that are going to get promoted the most in white-owned media, are typically guys who either play a sport, put on a dress, or tell jokes. And I want you to kind of pay attention to that whenever you're sort of watching and you're figuring out how somebody got to be, so popular and prominent and so well known. There's nothing against those individuals, but unfortunately, those guys are not the ones that are built to lead. And then on top of that, because they form such a cozy relationship with their economic benefactors, they're not even capable of leading. Like you saw when Nick Cannon decided, you know what, I don't want to be the funny guy who's hosting this stupid show where people get dressed up like clowns and sing, the Masked Singer, right? He makes lots of money from it, but he steps out of that role and he says, no, I want to be the strong black man. Because I met Nick Cannon's father. Nick Cannon's father called me and I talked to him for about an hour, and I like this guy a lot. He's a very smart guy. And so I get this sense that Nick is like, no, this is not the real me. I want y'all to see the real me. So Nick shows up and he tries to really sort of do the black thing, and he gets on with Professor Griff. They start talking about Jewish people, which I would have been like, Nick, no, don't do that. Don't bite. No, you don't shit where you eat. Don't bite the hand that's feeding you, Nick. You're not prepared. You're not prepared for battle with the Jewish community. They will eat you up, chew you up, and spit you out. And Nick still goes there. And then the next thing you know, Nick is out apologizing like he's wearing a pair of panties. Like he's literally apologizing like not once, not twice, but like 3 or 4 times, because they make it clear that you don't threaten their power. They're not going to allow. No, you're the clown. You're not the king. So Nick, in order to fight for his manhood, is out here impregnating every woman on this side of the earth because I believe his masculinity's been affected. I don't. It's nothing against Nick. I don't think Nick is a bad guy. I just think Nick was fighting a battle that he wasn't prepared to fight. Sometimes when we give the illusion of power, we think that's the same as real power. Again, like this lamp. If this lamp has an ego, this lamp might think, I'm really powerful. Look at me. I'm lighting up half the room. I can do this by myself. But if you unplug that lamp, then the light goes out, right? So the lamp doesn't have power. The lamp has the appearance of power. So some of the black men that you think are powerful, they got the big chains on and walk around like look at me. I'm the big whatever. They've got somebody that's actually plugging them into a wall. They've got a plug. They've got a plug that is really the one that's paying the bills, that's really controlling the narrative, that's basically saying, don't you get out of line. You can go in there, you can pretend to be powerful when you're around other black people, but if I hear you get out of line, I'm going to bitch slap you like you're a second grader. And I'm going to do it in front of everybody because I need other black men to know who the alpha is and who the beta is. And that's the problem with Hollywood. Hollywood has built this tremendous, extraordinary empire. Right. I have everybody. I always tell you guys, read that book, How the Jews Invented Hollywood, an Empire of Their Own. It is so inspirational. I have so much respect for the Jewish community for what they built. I have no animosity toward them whatsoever because I don't hate the player and I don't hate the game. I study those people who are winning. And when you look at Hollywood and you look at the way they run things, the way they control things, the way they elevate their culture over your culture, they elevate their community over your community. They make themselves the boss and you the slave. I say, man, that's extraordinary. I have nothing against you. Do not ever accuse me of being anti-Semitic because I'm sitting here taking notes. Okay, I'm taking notes, right? So don't even spend a moment being mad. If you spend time being mad, you're wasting your time because the game is designed to make you mad. Of course you're gonna be mad when you're being oppressed. Of course you're gonna be mad when they skew the game in their favor. But what's shocking to me is not so much that you're mad. And what shocks me is that you're surprised. Like you're really surprised that the person in charge is going to keep themselves in charge. Like, you're really shocked that the person who's the boss is going to set up the rules to keep himself the boss. Like, you're really shocked that he's going to take care of his family more than he takes care of your damn family. Don't nobody care about your family. You don't even care about your family. If you abandon your kids and you ain't protecting your women and you ain't fighting for your rights, then who the hell says that anybody else is supposed to be doing that fight for you? Stop sitting around complaining about who cares about you and who doesn't, and ask yourself, do you care enough about yourself? So I'm here to just go ahead and say, I'll lay it down on that sword and say to you, I care enough about the community and about my people that I'm okay with being labeled hater of the year because I don't get on board just because I see a black man trying to buy BET. Doesn't mean I hate him. It just means I got to ask questions. I got to be a skeptic. That's what you do when you're protecting you and yours. That's what you do. If a woman tried to, or a man tried to come into my house when I was a little boy, again, I was raised by a real man named Larry Watkins, not Boyce Sanders. That's my biological father. My father, Larry Watkins, took me in when I was 3. He raised me from the time I was 3, and he literally looked at me and my mother and he said, those are my responsibility. And my whole life, I've been his son. That's it. And so the way my father operated, my father was, he was from the streets. He was a gangster. He has killed people. He was a veteran. Shout out to the veterans. He was a police commander. He always believed in controlling a certain amount of space. So if you came into his house, friend or foe, and you're trying to get access to what he's got, he's going to ask you some questions. He's going to say, what do you want? Why are you here? Why are you talking to my daughter? What do you want with my son? Why do you want to be, you're not going to be around my woman. You're not coming up in my house. No, I've got to watch this person because they might steal. That's how he operated. And I don't think nothing's wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that because believe me, if black folks had more of that protective instinct of your community, you wouldn't have people coming in and setting up businesses and draining all your damn economics. If an immigrant comes to this country, they know that the only communities they can go into and make money in 24 hours is the black community. Because black people, we just want to let everybody in. And seriously, if you were more protective of your community, you wouldn't have situations where some black woman is getting her ass kicked and a bunch of weak ass men are sitting around holding cell phones and laughing about it. Like, seriously, if you really cared about your community, you wouldn't have so many men that literally build entire YouTube channels explaining how much they hate black women and how black women ain't this and black women ain't that. Like, that, are you crazy to me? Then you have the nerve to say that you're an alpha? You're not an alpha. That's not alpha behavior. Alphas are people that protect something. Alphas are people that are responsible for something. Alphas are people that can hold it down. An alpha on a football team might be the quarterback who makes it his responsibility to get the team in the end zone. An alpha might be the lineman who makes it his responsibility to clear the pass so the running back can get to the end zone. Right? So you call yourself an alpha, but you are not responsible or accountable to anything and anyone except yourself. You're not here to serve anybody except yourself. You're not an alpha. I don't know what the hell you are, but you're certainly not an alpha. You're not leading anything. In order for you to be an alpha, you have to be leading something, protecting something, responsible for something, serving something, hold it down for somebody. Somebody's life is better and safer because you're around. My father was that kind of an alpha. My life was better because that man was around. Because that man was around, my sister didn't have to worry about R. Kelly coming up in the house and sleeping with her when she was 12 because the alpha held it down. He was the lion that would chew up and spit out anybody that came into that space. So I think the black community needs more protectors. We need more defenders out here. And the thing is that being a defender of something that you love and that you believe in, it doesn't always allow you to always make friends. You have to be okay with having some people call you an asshole every now and then. And I'm okay with I get called an asshole. When Tasha K told my wife, when my wife was on Tasha K's show, I don't know if when Tasha's going to release the video or not. It's a very interesting thing about fetal alcohol syndrome. She said, a lot of people don't like your husband. And we laughed about it. I said, that's a compliment. I don't want to be liked by everybody. I only want to be liked by the right people. If you don't like me, that means I'm doing my job. If everybody liked me, seriously, think about this. Process this for me. I need y'all to process this. When a Negro is on TV every other day, and he's getting paid all kinds of money from people who have shown that they don't like you, is that a good thing? You think that's a good thing? That the people who dislike you the most, that the most racist people on the planet are paying this Negro millions of dollars to go on TV, you call that success? If your adversary likes you, 9 times out of 10, that's because they're allowed to fuck you. Right? Seriously, they like you because you're easy. You're just like everybody loves the girl who slept with the whole basketball team, right? So if your daughter ever comes home and she's 14 years old and says, "I'm very popular, all the boys like me," you need to stop and say, "Well, why do they like you so much? What's going on? Why are they sending you money and buying you whatever you want?" Right? So ultimately, the question becomes: it's Black people. I think that if you're trying to really compete, you can't show up trying to be liked. That says that there's something there that needs to be worked on in terms of self-esteem. It also says that there's something that needs to be worked on in terms of strategy, and also understanding your adversary a little bit better, your competitors a little bit better. Again, I don't consider the white man to be my enemy. I consider other communities to be competition. That's how I look at it, as competition, not enemy, not like, oh man, I hate those people. I don't hate nobody. I ain't got time to hate nobody. But I am here to say it's very important that we protect what's ours, whatever that means for you. Start with your family, start with your kids. If you got kids, those are your kids. You hold it down, protect those kids. You got a woman, you protect that woman. She's going to feel good about that. You got a man, you hold it down for that man. You got a community, you hold it down for your community. That will make you more successful, period. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. Let's get back to the topic at hand. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, by the way, and my website is boycewatkins.com. My new book is called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. It's a bestseller on Amazon. If you want to go take a look at it, feel free to take a look at it. I'll be in Dallas May 19th. If you want to join us for a 2-day Black Wealth Training Camp, I'll be joined by my wife, Dr. Alicia Watkins, a licensed therapist and a full professor of social work, and also Tim Jackson, who is a real estate expert. So if you want to network with other Black wealth builders and learn the keys to building generational wealth, I'm very, very happy to lend all the expertise that I've developed to help you get there. All right. So the other thing, too, is if you go to boycewatkins.com, we have financial flashcards for kids. If you want to train your kids on economics and wealth, as you guys know, in the Black Business School, we have a Black Business School for children. So you can feel free to take a look at that. And I also have a training there called How to Make Money without Working. So feel free to go take a look at that. All right. So let's go ahead and kind of wrap up this conversation. So we know about Shaquille O'Neal and 50 Cent looking to buy BET. And Tyler Perry is in the ring. Byron Allen is also a factor in this game. So it's kind of becoming this Game of Thrones where everybody wants to own the crown jewel of BET. What I found also in my research was I was looking at, I always ask, like, who are the partners? Who are the white folks that are giving you the money to help you get this done? And it's not necessarily sinister if you have partners that are not Black, because, sometimes these things are expensive. I don't know how many billions of dollars it would cost to buy BET, but most Black celebrities don't have that kind of capital, and they can't go to the bank and get that capital on their own. So they have to bring in some sort of partner that can help pay some of those bills. I saw with one of the groups, I want to say it might have been either Diddy or Byron Allen, who was partnered with Ariel Capital. Ariel Capital is run by John Rogers. I don't know John personally, but I met John once. He seemed like a nice guy. I don't know anything else about him. Also, I see that there's this energy. I saw something called Group Black. Group Black is a company that is connected with Shaq and Kenya Barris and 50 Cent, and they are also working with a company I saw called CVC Capital Partners. Now I looked up CVC Capital Partners just to see what they were all about. Now I don't know anything about this company, but I know that they're based in France. CVC Capital Partners is a Luxembourg-based French private equity and investment advisory firm with approximately $133 billion in assets under management. And so effectively, I would imagine that maybe that they're looking for their stake. They're not going to enter this deal if they're not trying to make their money. And so the question that I would end up asking is, who's going to make the final decisions in terms of content and choices for this network? I'm not so concerned if Shaq and Kenya or Diddy or whoever goes out and borrows money in order to acquire BET. That's okay, right? It's like if you go and buy a house, you typically might have to go to the bank to get money to buy the house. But going to the bank to get the bank to be a silent partner where they're not asking any questions when you buy this house, that's very different than if you took and say an equity partner who says, I want to be on the board and decide what you're going to do with that house. Do you understand the difference? Do you understand the difference? So a lot of these private equity firms, they don't just give you the money and say, here you go, good luck. We want to see what happens. Just make sure you pay us, a certain interest rate. They don't do that. They want to be on the board. They want to make decisions. They want to hire their own people to be executives with the company because they want to maximize the likelihood that the investment is successful. And they only care about it from a financial standpoint. So the big problem you have, and I know that we're tempted, we get in the habit of cheering every time we hear about a Black-owned business getting funding or whatever. Little Black girl raises $5 million to sell her lemonade brand. Well, I want to know, where did she get the money from? Did you, just like when you talk to your daughter, if your daughter says, Daddy, I got $200 today, you want to ask your daughter, like, where'd you get that money from and what did they expect in return? You understand what I'm saying? If you don't ask that question, then you're making a huge mistake when it comes to money. The huge mistake people make when it comes to money, and Black people, we do this a lot, is we think all money is good money. All money ain't good money. All money ain't good money. Sometimes you think you made good money, but that's a deal with the damn devil. Some people make deals with the devil. So if your daughter comes home and says, yeah, Dad, I got $200 extra today, and you're not smart enough to say, well, who'd you get the money from and what did they expect? Then you never know. Your daughter could have been selling WAP for that $200. She could be selling something that money can't buy for that $200. Your daughter might be ruining her life to get that $200. So when you tell me that these companies, CVC Capital Partners and Group Black, are trying to buy Black-owned companies, I need to know what the play is. What's really happening here? Who's making the decisions here? I really want to know these things. Why? Well, because the ownership of media is not the same as an ownership of any typical business. If they were going to buy a bunch of grocery stores or maybe a bunch of not even movie theaters, I don't know. Let's say, a book publisher or something. I wouldn't ask the same questions as I would ask if they're owning BET. Well, why is that? Well, because one of the points that I made extensively in my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, is that your battle when it comes to wealth, it's not just a war of knowledge. Right? Financial knowledge is everywhere. You can get that. It's not hard to become financially intelligent if that's what you want. Your battle is not a battle of access. You have access to all the information that you need in order to build wealth. I've shown you guys. If you go to my website, boycewatkins.com, I have the $5 a day investing plan that shows if you invest $5 a day in the stock market consistently and don't sell your stocks and you're buying S&P 500 companies, your family will have $250,000 in extra wealth in the next 25 or 30 years. Very easy to rise out of poverty. Very easy. Not hard to do. I know all the mathematical equations behind wealth building, so I know it's easy. So here's the thing. It's not about access. It's not about knowledge. It's culture. Everybody type the word culture in the chat. It is culture. Why is it culture? Well, because what culture does, Professor James Small, shout out to him. He talks about this extensively. Culture creates your values. Culture leads you to decide which information is important and what information is not important. Culture, and by the way, on Instagram, it's going to shut off my Instagram in 7 seconds. I'll just open it right back up so you guys can come right back in. It only lets me do the gram for an hour. All right. So culture is what leads your daughter to say, is it more important for me to learn math or is it more important for me to learn how to twerk? Culture is where your son says, is it more important for me to learn science or is it more important for me to learn how to calculate kilos and grams so I can slang dope on the corner? Culture is what, leads a father to say, do I want to stay home and raise my family and take care of my wife, or do I want to go chase hoes for the next 20 years and so I can feel like I'm the man? Culture is what leads Dr. Boyce to say, do I really want to go and create something called the Black Business School and educate Black people? Or do I want to just go to Wall Street and hang out with white guys that are going to pay me $10 million a year with my PhD? So culture, let me just tell you this. Brother Nuri Muhammad, I'm getting the Instagram set up, and sometimes my ADHD kicks in and I end up sounding like I'm distracted. So and my wife hates it. It drives my wife crazy. So I'm not a good multitasker. So here's where I'm getting at. Brother Nuri Muhammad, who I love so much, came into another Black man that should be one of the most famous Black men in the country. Brother Nuri Muhammad came on this platform and he said that 30, 40 years ago, before integration, the leading influences on Black culture and Black youth were the home, the school, and the church. The home, the school, and the church. That's what he said. In the 1940s and 50s, those were the leading influences on black children. He said now the leading influences on black children, let me see if I get this right, is music, their peer group, and social media. Those are the three greatest influences on kids. Those are the three things that shape their culture. So those three things that are influencing these kids is what's causing them to make the choices that they make. BET, being one of the largest black-owned media outlets in the country, is a huge player in that which shapes black culture. So it was a huge national security risk. And I say that, I don't take that term lightly, a huge national security risk to have BET owned by people who are not black. Why? Well, because the United States government has laws that say foreign countries can own so many movie theaters, they can own so many movie studios, they can only own so many TV networks. They don't want foreigners to be able to control the messaging and the ideas that are spread throughout that community. Adolf Hitler understood that if you control the media, you can control what people think, you can control what they believe, you can control what they value. So by allowing other people to own BET, I really think you need to consider why they would never let you own their media. They'll never let you own Jewish entertainment television, but they'll own BET all day because you'll go for it, because you say, oh, well, they're paying us lots of money, so a black person making money is a good thing no matter how they're making their money. And that's exactly what leads to the problems that you see in your community right now. That's what leads to the chaos. And my wife is in here. I got to say hi to her. Hey, baby, how you doing? All right. So long story short, I'm going to make it 100% clear. I am not against any of the people that are trying to buy BET. I cheer them on. These are all brothers that are about my age, a little bit older, and they're more mainstream than I am. I don't want to be mainstream. I don't want to be liked by everybody. That's just not my that's just not something that works for me. But I cheer them on. I like some things that Byron Allen does. I admire him immensely for his accomplishments. 50 Cent, been a fan of his music for a long time. I love the way he's evolving as a film creator and everything else he's doing with studios and all that. Shaquille O'Neal, don't agree with everything politically, but he's a great player. He seems to be a good businessman. I respect that. Kenya Barris, I love Blackish. Don't like Black AF so much, to be honest with you, but you're not going to love everything. Tyler Perry, I mentioned to you all the time I met Tyler. He was a very nice guy. So nothing against Tyler Perry. Diddy, I appreciate the fact that he supports Dr. Claude Anderson, or at least verbally supports. I'm hopeful that verbal support will be followed by writing a check. I think it's very important that we write checks for the things that we believe in. I know I can confirm to you that the Black Business School has written at least $500,000 in checks to Dr. Anderson that he would confirm. And I'm hopeful that these celebrities that call Dr. Anderson, when they talk about Powernomics and how much they love it, will follow up with access to resources. You have to financially support the things that you believe in. You can't just do the talking. We're used to too much talking. The fast talking Negroes are the ones you see on TV, and you see all this yip, yip, yippity, yap, 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 yippity, yap, right? And the thing about it is that talking ain't the same as doing. So what I'm asking you all to do is, as a community, I think that we should all support the things that we believe in. Remember, that 1.6 trillion, that is your voice. That is your opportunity. That is your chance to invest in the things that matter to you. So the question is, what are you doing with that money? When you go buy products that are owned by people like Bernard Arnault in France, then what you're doing is you're endorsing his power. You're voting for him. You're giving him something that's going to build his community, build his family, build his legacy. But the question is, are you doing that for yourself? Are you doing that for your own community? And so that's what I'm really hopeful that the owners of BET will consider. If any of them see this video, just know I will be more than happy to give you my 2 cents, and you ain't got to pay me a nickel for it. I've already made my money. I know how to make money. I don't want to be anybody's employee. If you ever want to call and just like Ice Cube did and some of the other guys, and just get my 2 cents, get my opinion, I'll be happy to share it. But I don't want to be anybody's. I don't want to work for anybody. I don't want your money. I just want you to do the right thing with this important power that you're going to receive. Because if you do it wrong, man, you're going to destroy a whole nother generation of Black people. Bob Johnson, no disrespect to Bob, but my Lord Jesus, the BET could have made a ton of money and not been so destructive. This is the thing. Making money is okay. There's nothing wrong with making money. I'm a finance professor. That's all. Making money is important. I've talked to you guys about the power of money. But the thing about money is like a drug. And the thing about drugs is that drugs can heal you and make you better, or drugs can turn you into an addict. So moderation is really important. Black people cannot be hardcore capitalists. If you are a hardcore capitalist as a Black person, you will fail. If you are a hardcore capitalist as a Black person, you might as well call yourself a white supremacist. Why? Well, because if I'm a hardcore capitalist, then all I care about is the money. All I care about is the bottom line. All I care about is the dollar bill. So that means that if somebody comes along with more money, I'm going to sell to them. If somebody comes along with more money, I'm going to connect with them. If somebody comes along with more money, I want to partner with them. Well, who has the most money in America? Who has the money? The white man has the money. He got all the damn money. He prints the shit. Ain't no Black man ever in history printed his own money. But the white man can literally print his own money. So you can't go into business, in my view, my 2 cents. This is me. You cannot go into business as a Black person and only focus on the money. You must, in order for you to compete economically in this society as a Black person, you must have some assets that money cannot buy. You must have something that money cannot buy. You have to have something in your life where a person cannot write a check big enough to take that thing away from you. Why? Well, because you sold you had your hip hop, you sold your hip hop because somebody came along with a check. Your own Essence magazine, it got sold because somebody came along and wrote a check. I think it's Black owned again though, so no disrespect to Essence at all. Right? You have some of the greatest entertainment, art forms, best athletes, whatever, and you sell them. You sell it because somebody writes a check. Deion Sanders is at Jackson State doing what I think is the most important work that any Black man can do in sports, elevating HBCUs to earn them billions of dollars over the next 100 years. He goes to Colorado because Colorado wrote a check. Again, no disrespect to Deion, but Lord Jesus, if you take the money away from the Colorado deal, there is nothing appealing about pasty-ass Colorado. It's the money. It must be the money. Deion had a song called Must Be the Money. It has to be the money. The money is literally what takes Colorado from being a crappy-ass, sub-mediocre institution with a bunch of white folks with zero swag to being suddenly the coolest place in the world to be because we will sell our swag. We sell our swag. We'll go sell our swag to anybody. And I know that this is controversial. I know people have different opinions about Deion. I respect all those perspectives. I get it. But I just kind of ask at what point do you have something that money cannot buy? Like, what do you have that, because that's how capitalism works. I'm an expert on capitalism, and that's all. That's how the white man has his power all around the world, is he just goes and buys shit. If you say that you don't want something, he says, well, everybody has a price. So he'll come buy your woman. He'll make an indecent proposal and buy your woman because he's got the money for it. So the question is, when your gangster's really being tested, is to ask yourself, is there something that I own where you can't write a check big enough to take this thing away from me? And every person has to answer that question individually, right? So for example, if you're Deion Sanders, and I'm not talking about Deion in particular, I don't want to make this personal. But you're Deion Sanders and you're at Jackson State and you just conclude, you know what? There's no task. This is where culture matters because culture shapes your values. Culture shapes what matters to you, right? So again, Deion comes from the culture where being at the bigger, brighter, shinier school, winning championships in the NCAA and getting the millions is important. Being on TV is what matters, right? But pay attention now. There are some coaches in HBCU schools who say, nah, that you can't buy me out of this seat. This is something money can't buy because working with young Black men in a Black institution that's developing a Black city like a Jackson is something that money can't buy. You can't buy me out of this seat. You can't buy me out of this seat the same way you can't buy a mother away from her children. If a mother is with her children, you can't pay her enough money to abandon her children and go take care of your kids. Not, at least not permanently. She might do it temporarily, but she says, my main job is to be a mom. Right. So again, we need moms and dads in the Black community. We need stewards of the community. Going back to that term alpha, we talked about what it means to be an alpha. To be an alpha, a lot of these men who call themselves alpha, one characteristic of an alpha is that you're responsible for something. You're holding something down. You're serving something. You're sacrificing for something. There is a group of people whose lives are better because you're around, right? You're there. This is your territory. right? Alphas take territory. That's why dogs pee around trees and giraffes. When giraffes want to get the most women, they control the most territory. They prove that they're the alpha by having bigger land spots, right? So the question becomes what are you responsible? Where are you holding it down? Can you just get slapped around and then moved around like where he can move you like a piece on the chessboard because he's got more money than you? So if I'm the white man and I'm trying to figure out how to be powerful and I'm maintaining this control over black people, then I'm going to say, oh, Deion Sanders, he looks like he's committed to these black people, but let me move him like a pawn on the chessboard. Let me pick him up and move him from Jackson State to Colorado because I can do that, because I can offer him enough money that I can do that because I print the shit. I print this money. Colorado damn near prints money, right? But pay attention now. There are some people where you can't move them off their spot. There are some people, and they either have to have either enough money that they're like good, they're like, I'm good, I don't need any more money, right? These are people that are independently wealthy, which Deion claimed he was. I don't believe that he was. I believe that again, if you're independently wealthy, then $5 million a year ain't that much money. You can make $5 million a year at Jackson State. You know, there's a lot of ways you can brand yourself. There's a ton of ways to make money, that amount of money. If it was 100 million, that's a different thing. But 5 million, I've made 5 million in a year. It's not that hard to do once you understand how to make money. Okay, but then it's like, so you either have to have enough money to be independently wealthy, or you have to have some sacred values, right? And this comes from knowing who you are, and that's another problem we have as black people. When you don't know who you are, then you just move around and you just chasing whatever people put in front of you. And this goes back to a lot of the brainwashing that happens when we're going through the public school system, when other people are telling us who we are. That's why in the Black Business School, our core values are black people should educate our own children, create our own jobs, support black-owned businesses. Because when you are a person who, like, I'll give you an example. There's a rapper named Akila Nihonda. Akila Nihonda is hanging out with some people from Rock Nation and stuff now. And I'm so happy about that because Akila is super talented. And I think Akila is going to be the next big superstar. Well, Akila, you can't buy her off her spot. Like that, you can't tell her, like, oh, well, we're going to make you the next Megan Thee Stallion. All you got to do is get to twerking. Akila ain't going to do that. Akila would say, nah, you know what? I'm all right. I'd rather be an Uber driver than to be Megan Thee Stallion. No disrespect to Megan, but unfortunately, if you're just taught to chase the money, then they're going to have you run around here looking like Boo Boo the Fool because you'll be doing anything that they tell you to do. And at that point, you've lost this thing that black people love to talk about, but we don't truly understand, called freedom. You lose that. You don't have that freedom anymore, because if somebody wants to take away your freedom, all they got to do is write a big check. Your oppressors can write the biggest checks on the entire planet. So you better be ready, especially if you build something that's a benefit to the community. If you build something that's relevant to black folks, if you build something that's really helping the people that matter to you, you better be ready for the day where somebody comes along and writes a gigantic check and says, all you got to do is hand the keys over to the car and all this money is yours. And one of the things that I wish Deion Sanders had, and I know we're talking about Deion now, and I'm not going to talk about him too much because I don't want it to become like personal. I don't want it to be like, oh, Dr. Boyce hates Deion. I'm not mad at Deion. He's a man. He can do whatever he wants. But I really thought that when he said, I've made enough money, that means he could seek a higher purpose than money. I believe he went to Colorado because he needed that $5 million a year. And that really kind of saddened me, because I was like, really? I mean, what you're doing is worth so much more than $5 million a year. How can they buy you off that spot for $5 million? If it's 50 million, 100 million, then it gets a little tougher. 5 million? Come on, man. I think you could have made double that, like creating something where you are, so I'm not going to talk about that anymore, because I've already talked about that. And it's hard for me to talk about it because people that don't think through what I'm saying, they think I'm just trying to be mean or be mad at him. I'm not trying to be mad at him. I'm just trying to, I'm saying, damn, at what point can we give as much energy to ourselves as we give to white folks? Why is it that, if you want to know why black institutions don't get built, it's because you put more energy into building somebody else's stuff than you put into building your own. Well, if you're not putting energy into building your own, then your own won't get built. It's like if you spend more time feeding everybody else's kids than you spend with your own kids, then guess what? Your kids will starve because nobody's feeding your kids. So that's my 2 cents. And I think somebody said talk to Deion about it. I don't know Deion. If Deion called me, I talk to him, because I don't hate him. I'll talk to anybody, but at the same time, man, I just think that we sometimes we still have some work to do. We have a lot of work to do. And whoever buys BET, all I ask them to do is please just do something better than what was done in the last 25 or 30 years. Just do something good. Go make your money, make your billions. I want you to be as rich as you can possibly be. But I also want you to understand there's a term in economics called externalities. Externalities are basically side effects. It's like medication. If you take medication, there are externalities or side effects that will occur from taking that medication, right? So if the side effects are worse, then if the side effects are so bad that they outweigh the cure, then that's not good medication. So with BET, the problem was that the side effects of BET were so bad that it outweighed the money. So BET might have made a few $1 billion, but you probably cost the Black community at least a cold $1 trillion in terms of all the lost potential of all these millions of young people who could have been successful, but got sucked into a vacuum of toxic culture where they ended up dead, in prison, hooked on drugs, abandoning their families. You know, it's a damn fucking mess. And I really think as Black people, we got a whole lot of healing we need to do. We have a whole lot of work we got to do. We got to rebuild our families. We have to heal ourselves from the trauma we experienced. We have to get ourselves where we want to get to economically. So it's at some point, somebody's got to do the damn work, you know. And I just really hate the idea that we act like that's just the way it's supposed to be. I don't believe it has to be that way. I think we can do better. So that's my 2 cents. If I offended anybody, then I cannot apologize for that. I can only say that that was not my intention. My only intention was to tell the truth, and my only obligation is to you, not to any of these celebrities. So thank you all so much for listening. I appreciate you. Very quickly, I'm going to be in Dallas May 19th. So if you'd like to join us for a 2-day Black Wealth training camp in Dallas, feel free to go to boycewatkins.com. The link is right there at the top. Also, the All Black National Convention is going to happen October 20th. If you are B1 Black First, the convention is the place for you. This is going to be our 9th year, I believe. And the first one was in Atlanta. So we're going back to Atlanta. We're going to be at the Marriott Marquis Hotel. It's October 20th. So if you'd like to learn more, go to allblacknationalconvention.com. I know that some of you want to actually speak or be on panels because many of you are experts in your chosen fields. If you'd like to be on a panel or do a presentation or be a speaker, there is a speaker application form that you can fill out. You just go to my website, boycewatkins.com, hit that link and leave your information. And we can't pick everybody, but we are looking for those diamonds in the community that have something strong to say, some expertise you can provide. Again, we'll try to get as many people in as we can. We can't do it for everybody, but you are invited to apply. So just all that's on my website, boycewatkins.com. Last but not least, my new book is called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. You can find that on Amazon and also at boycewatkins.com. There's a training on there called How to Make Money Without Working. So feel free to take a look at all of that. So God bless you guys. Thank you so much for listening. And I wish you the very best. And I'll check in with you guys again real soon. Love you guys. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down beyond Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.